What's up, Desert Springs youth? Sergio here, coming at you from an empty building, but trusting that your homes are filled with the presence of God, as we know that God's presence cannot be contained into a building or a temple, but instead we can take them with us everywhere we go. I hope that you all are doing well, especially during these crazy social distancing times. I know some of you may be going crazy at home, right? Especially with the limited human interaction that you might be having. I know I'm going crazy at home with 4 kids, cooped up in a house. It's kind of crazy. But as we sit at home and have all this time in our hands, I want to ask you a question. Who are you listening to? Think about that for a moment. Who are you listening to? I ask that because there's a lot of voices in the world that are vying for our attention, especially right now as we throw COVID-19 in the mix. You see, we're all being bombarded with a ton of messages and news that are aimed to influence us one way or the other. COVID-19's news and posts are everywhere. We can't ignore them. And it can be really difficult for us to hear what's important or even what's true through these crazy times and all this noise. So as you sit there and try to shuffle through all this chatter, ask yourself, is it what you're listening to building you up? Is it what you're listening to benefiting you in a spiritual way? Is it what you're listening to bringing you closer to God? Is it what you're listening to helping you to discern the voice of God? Or is it what you're listening to drawing you away from God? Perhaps it's time to tune out all this noise so that we can all tune in to God. You see, the Bible tells us in John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice. Think about that. My sheep hear my voice. Here, Jesus mentions our ability to not only hear his voice, but also to recognize his voice. If I was to call Destiny right now, not from my phone, but somebody else's phone, Destiny's my daughter, and I was to say, hola, mami, she would immediately say, hi, dad. You see, she would not only recognize me by my voice, but also she would recognize me by the way that I speak to her. It's a combination of our relationship and our daily conversations that allows her to recognize my voice immediately after she hears it. You see, the amazing part is that it's the same thing with God. As believers in God, that I know we all are, we have the amazing ability to not only hear God, but have the ability to recognize his voice as soon as he speaks. But you see, this doesn't just magically happen. There's work that we have to put in order for this to happen. There's things that we have to do in order for us to grow into a deeper relationship with God, and that's spending time with him in prayer, reading our Bible. That will allow us to get to know God more, to be able to be sensitive to his voice, to be able to recognize his voice, which will ultimately allow us to recognize his voice immediately when he speaks. You see, I would like to encourage each and every one of you to use this time wisely and spend it in prayer. Spend some time in prayer. Dedicate some time reading the Word of God. You see, it is these two things that will take you and give you the ability to tune in to God more and more each day. Now, if you hear that COVID-19 is spreading at an alarming rate, now you're going to even hear a louder voice that speaks to you, and you're going to recognize that is God, and it is going to say, God is my refuge. God is my strength. He is an everlasting help in the time of trouble. If you ever feel alone, especially during these times where social distancing is such a big thing, you're at your home, you feel alone, you feel that you don't have friends, and you have that voice speaking to you and telling you that you're alone, but now you're going to have a louder voice and you're going to recognize that it's God, and he's going to say, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. Now when you start to feel and hear those voices that tell you that you can go on, that you can keep going, you'll hear a louder voice and you'll recognize that it's God that'll say, for I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And just like that, God will continue to guide you. God will continue to encourage you. God will continue to love on you during these unprecedented times. Again, I encourage each and every one of you to spend some time in prayer. Spend time reading the Word of God so that together we can tune in to God more and more each day. Desert Springs Youth, we love you. We're praying for you. We're praying for your family. If there's anything that you need, feel free to reach out to Pastor Corbin, reach out to any of your leaders. We're all here to serve you. If there's anything that we need to do, let us know. As you have heard it said, church has left the building. We're out there and we're ready to serve you in any way that we can. If you need help, all you got to do is ask. We love you. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Thank you for tuning in.